cybersecurity should be part of any organization fabric. And the reason is very simple, because if you make cybersecurity part of your fabric, what does it mean is you have a resiliency of your digital infrastructure, your operations, and you bring the efficiency. And it's a cybersecurity, instead of being a blocker, it becomes a productive enabler and a big differentiator into the market as well. So it's really critical that cybersecurity as well as compliance look into the inherent part of the organization and looked into that, hey, that is your strength, not as something that is standalone function and a check mark. And it does not have to be complex, because cybersecurity, it's one of the things is if you took a right approach, it can be extremely simple, as well as making your organization from resiliency point of view, as well as compliance point of view, much more differentiated than anybody else out there.
Welcome to India and Indian News. Our guest today is Chandra Shekhar Pandey. He is the founder and CEO of Seceon, a cybersecurity company. We are going to talk to him about his entrepreneurial journey, as well as the state of cybersecurity and AI today. Chandra, welcome to our studio.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Penji, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to be in front of you.
Excellent. So now there's so many questions for you. So before we come down to talk about cybersecurity and AI and all these things happening in the marketplace, given all this digital revolution, let's start talk about your entrepreneurial journey and when it started and how did you come with the idea of forming Seceon?
I started Seceon in 2015, and reason behind starting the Seceon was very simple, because today means like what we look into from the cybersecurity point of view. Even in like when we were starting in 2015, it was obvious that the way digitalization was happening and the companies were getting breached with a lot of resources, they even were not able to recognize that they have been breached. It was not lack of the tool, because some tools will send out your thousands of data points, sometimes millions of data points per day, and you don't know what to do with it. So most of the people ignored it. So even the companies which were spending even in 2015 billions of dollars per year, they get breached, and the only way they learn about it after multiple months, sometimes years, is from some government entity that, hey, your data is being sold or kind of being transacted into the dark web and all that. So from now, I have been in kind of industry for almost, at that time itself, I was a couple of decades I had spent in the industry. In 2015, I had already been in the industry for a couple of decades, and it was very obvious the way the industry is progressing, digitalization was coming in, that more and more of the cybersecurity is going to be very important for any organizations to survive into the digital world. And having a set of the silos product, no matter you can spend tens of millions and billions of dollars, if you keep on going and bringing your security solutions based on the many silos, you will not be able to catch those threats into early stages of the attack and not keep yourself safe. So that was the driving force, that we had an opportunity that, hey, create a platform which is looking into all the telemetry about your organizations into common context and add the situational awareness into it to proactively detect the threats and also eliminate it. And then also that drives your compliance and governance and all that too. So when we started the company, it was any company you start, this kind of a journey requires a lot of resources, And as we talked with a few of those, it's like the investor, and they said, Chandra, you are trying to do 8 to 10 company in one. And it was to my surprise that we said, this is what has to be done for the right. And obviously, people say that, hey, if you are trying to do one thing, your chance of success into the, any high-tech company, it's like almost 1 in 10. And if you're trying to do 8 to 10 companies in one, chance of success is extremely, extremely low. You can calculate your probability in that. But we said, it's like, look, we want to take on because this is the right thing to do. And that's the way the journey started, sir.
So now, did you get a venture funding or you self-funded?
Yeah, so that's the question is like when we talk with a few of them, it become very obvious that, hey, our story about having 8 to 10 companies, kind of a companies in one, a platform story is not going to get funding. So we stopped kind of even chasing anybody to go and give us the funding and all that. We started on our own. And then after a year or so, we got our product to the market. And we were lucky. We started getting the very good traction with those people who provide the services to many organizations, cybersecurity services. So that kind of gave us a good footing that, hey, we have something which is like operational and working and so on and so forth. So some of friends and family, they said that, no, hey, we want to invest. So we said, okay, go ahead and we can take it. But it was not in the beginning. For the first year, we didn't took any money from anyone because we just invested our own savings to get it off the ground and get the even product out as well.
So Chandra, before we come back to Seceon again, can you also share about some of the previous companies you had worked and what was your expertise there?
I was pretty lucky that, when I came out of the college, I got an opportunity to work for CDOT. At that time, I joined in the early 90s and I had an opportunity to do some of the very innovative, innovation work. And it was CDOT always used to do very innovative work in India. And then after that, I got opportunity to be at IBM doing something cutting edge there as well. And then I went to work for US Robotics 3Com when only means like a digitalization and especially that internet was coming in because US Robotics used to do all those modems. It was cutting edge of the modem. A lot of innovation was coming from US Robotics. Then 3Com, it became part of 3Com. Then I moved to, had opportunity to move to the East Coast to work for a company called Ascend and Lucent. Which was Ascend has acquired a company called Cascade, which Desh Pandey had started. So as part of that group, so a lot of smart people were there. So it's like amount of the learning I had into my time over there. With the team, I had a chance to lead and learn from them was phenomenal. And that journey led it to me to do a startup, part of the startup, which was Internet Photonics, which brought some of the biggest innovation in the industry. What we deal with today is all the big fat pipes and wavelengths and all that. So it was part of that innovation. I was lucky to be in that company. Then I joined Juniper. And Juniper, I got a lucky break. Even though something I had come from the core R&D side, I was asked to do something which was take a solution architecture and engineering team, which was a totally challenging things for me to do. But it definitely gave me a very broad perspective because I got a chance to work with the top 50 service provider and enterprise customers for the Juniper around the globe. And I had some of the smartest people in my team. So you see, when you are around the smartest people, you learn a lot from each one of them. Each one of our discussion was like a learning experience for me. And when I was there, it became very obvious that, hey, what are all the things which can be improved upon or broken or can be drastically changed? And that gave us idea that hey, cybersecurity is something which requires a drastic change. because it cannot be the way the things have been done that can survive the attacks which are already happening or coming along our ways.
So now, cybersecurity is a very generic term, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the cybersecurity which your company, Seceon, tackles. Like you can be a little bit much more specific. What type of the cybersecurity where you are focused on? I know you talked about 10 different things.
Yes.
But if you can just explain for a common person.
Yeah. If you look into the cybersecurity, for the simple point of view, there is only two cybersecurity domains are there in the big picture. There is just something called cyber hygiene. And then after that, it comes down to is like, if you had the hygiene, then there is a second thing is basically where you are monitoring everything, detecting the threats into early steps and stages, and then you are eliminating the threat, able to meet all the compliance requirements. So there are only two parts, hygiene, and then basically you have proactive detections and automated compliance as well as, remediations. So just two things you remember, and both of them are very important because if you don't have a good hygiene, that is as good as you have left your door open for anybody to come in and do whatever they want. So your goal is to make sure that you have a good hygiene, but still, even after having the hygienes, think about that. There is you will have a problem, and that problem will be that things will get around those hygiene system, and some of the things your hygiene does not play a role in there because digital footprint is basically your perimeters are broken. You don't have a perimeters where you are looking into just like, hey, if I close my door, I'm secure, because that does not happen anymore because you have so many things is chances of getting exposed and people are able to get into it.
So can you also, Chandra, talk about some of your clients and customers, what type of clients you have? And your clients are based worldwide, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you can just give some sort of insight from client perspective.
Yeah. So we have been very lucky in that sense that our go-to market is always through the partners. So we have channel partners as well as we have MSSP partners around the globe. And what does it even though we may not have people each and every country, but we have a wide footprint across the globe now. We are serving more than 60 countries and almost 10,000 customers through our 800 plus partners around the globe. As far as the customers are concerned, our customers are anywhere from 65 plus global Fortune 500 to some of the smallest company you can imagine. And we take a lot of pride on saying that, even to the smallest of the companies, we have made better than the enterprise grade cybersecurity affordable for them. Most of them probably cannot even think about having that kind of a solution, what we can do at the cost they can afford in there. So it varies quite a bit that we have a 400,000 people organization as a customer. And we probably have through our partners, some of the customer might be 4 to 20 people companies, which may be law firm or which might be wealth management firms and so on and so forth. If you look into today's Upendraji, that these threats, actors, they are much more powerful. So actors and APTs.
So where most of these actors are based geographically?
Yeah, see, you don't have to look, there is
And I can guess.
Yeah, but people always target, hey, they are sitting into sometime in Eastern Europe, sometimes, there's some other part, it's like Asian countries and all that in there. So the places where you will say if somebody wants to attack US, that's right, you want to be in the country where US does not have a treaty that where they can bring the people and prosecute over here as well. Similarly in the other countries as well, that's right. So it comes down, but you see one thing you have to keep in mind. It's not only one country versus other countries in there. It's like now it has become very easy for people to have the power which was previously possible only to the nation-level actors. And nation-level actors is where nation spends billions of dollars to create this infrastructure, to create the automated attack, stealthy attack, where you can go in and do the attack and sit out there. You are not in a hurry to just kind of grab the money. Because if you see, one of the things we always have to keep in mind, what we hear about in news and media is probably less than 1% of the attack.
Mhm.
There are many attacks which nobody talks about. A region is very simple. Because if you look into the cybersecurity, the losses because of the cybersecurity kind of issues and all that is there are companies put out $10.9 trillion. That is for 2025. Now, if you look into how much ransomware and all that, that's less than a few percent, 1 or 2%.
Mhm.
The most of that loss is your disruptions, intellectual property, your trade secret, your nation secret, those, and then disruptions happens, which are the big ones. So let's say if you have a hospital, you will hear about there is a hospital has been attacked, and now people are kind of going on paper and pencil. There are many things which were supposed to happen are not happening there. You have operating theaters are not able to schedule the operation. They are only doing something which is emergency and all that in there. A lot of those disruptions, sometimes the recovery takes almost multiple months,
Sure.
not only weeks. So those cost a lot of money. Similarly, if you have a manufacturing plant, power plant, or even we had the attack into gas line. That's right. You saw that there was a huge lines were forming up into the gas stations and all that in there. Those are extreme kind of a cost, which we do not kind of get to talk about it, because ransomware is very common. Everybody can understand. So people talk about intellectual property. If you are let's say pharmaceutical or biotech company or high-tech company, if your code gets stolen or if your intellectual property formula gets stolen, which you have spent tens of billions of dollars to run through the whole process of discovery and all the compliance.
So I have a couple of other questions as we come towards the end of the interview.
Yeah.
So one is how AI, everybody's talking about AI in every, area you can think of.
Yeah.
So how this thing going on in cybersecurity, AI versus AI?
Yeah.
Like the AI is enabling many people to make the attack. And again, I assume that AI is also helping you to protect from those attacks. So if you can just talk a little bit about the role of AI.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So AI has enabled even individuals who may not even come from the deep cybersecurity knowledge can sit into their basement and within a few days have a tool which is as powerful what nation actors used to take months and sometimes a year and billions of dollars to create. That can be done easily by an individual sitting into their basement, and they can use even the AI tools and multiple tools, because each one of the AI tools itself are putting the guardrail. There are certain things they will not let you do, because that's basically they are trying to, each of the hyper LLM have enabled that capability that, hey, not kind of giving you the power, but at the same time, if people go and chunk it, all of a sudden they get a chunk and they assemble into their even gaming desktop and all that. So that power has come into hands of the attackers, but at the same time, from defender point of view, the one of the things I want to point out, when we started our company, even in 2015, we said ML and AI in the cybersecurity are going to play a big role. And we started with that. From the 2015, when everybody was not even thinking about ML AI into the cybersecurity, we started doing that. And then when the large, language model came through, what it did, it gave us the simplification power that what we call is Sera AI, which sits on top of our platform, which makes even a person who is not from the industry able to do the task what previously you needed cybersecurity experts to do, because that one is doing all the tasks. And then you do not need all the people and all the data to go through it, because those already are simply explained. So if you look into the multiple level of now AIs are in the play into the defense side as well. And that one is one thing is like you are looking into that you are proactively detecting, because the threats which used to take sometimes hours and sometimes days, now they are exploding within like 23 seconds. Now you have to have a solution which is able to catch those before that kind of 23 seconds is passed. So you have to be within pretty much in the real time, within few seconds, you have to detect it and stop it. And that's what, if you use AI properly, you are able to do it. If you don't use properly and you just kind of feed all the data set into the AI will not be able to even handle it, because AI does not have like a capacity where you are talking about the tokens. If you get 10 terabyte of the data, it's not going to do much. So the layering of that AI as well is what gives you capability to proactively detect the threat, take actions, and those some of the actions, human on the loop is always required. Do not leave every actions to just like the machine, because if you leave every action to the machine, sometimes you will shoot yourself in the foot as well. So your goal is to make sure, take AI to do your 99% of the work, but that 1% human on the loop is required. And that's what Seceon has done.
So, Chandra, if I ask you, there are so many cybersecurity companies. We hear about them all the time. What is one feature which really makes Seceon different and unique in the marketplace today?
Yeah. So if you look into what I just mentioned in the earlier, that Seceon was always started with the platform approach from the day one. And what the platform approach means is all the telemetry we collect, we look into the common context with the situational awareness. So what it does, it not only like eliminate the noises, but it does not misses out the real threats in there. So all the ML AI dynamic threat model, what we started with the day one with the common platform, because if you try to do that, buying 20, 30, 50 different tools from different companies, or even a company which acquired those 20 different companies to create that solution, that what you call close together platform, you don't have that context. One simple format of like your data, which can be looked together. And that is basically differentiates Seceon significantly. Nobody else has done it, because big company is trying to close together many things in there. And a small company does not have that, it's like what you call is resilience and persistence, what you can call as like a crazy people that are trying to do 8 and 10 company in one. That's what we had done it over the years. That's right. That kind of differentiates us compared to anybody else out there.
Now, last question. What is one advice you will give to all these big organizations and multinational companies when it comes to cybersecurity?
Yeah. So, sir, only thing I will mention that, look, cybersecurity should be inherently part of your culture. That cybersecurity is not a what you call is like a standalone function. Cybersecurity should exist everywhere.